10 questions that you should ask yourself before you start creating music. Hi, my name's Pete Johns. This is the Studio Live Today podcast. And lately we've been doing these out and about podcasts. It's been a lot of fun. We get to get out into nature now. I was walking before, but you'll probably hear there's quite a lot of wind today. So I've found a semi-sheltered spot to do this one. And in the last few of these, I've been answering questions that I get asked all the time about music and creating. And this time I'm flipping the script and I'm going to ask you 10 questions that you should ask yourself before you start making music, starting with question number 1, which is, what is your goal? What is your outcome? What are you actually trying to achieve? Because the mistake I see a lot of folks make is that they just start recording. And look, I say if you don't know where to start, just start. So that's definitely the second option. If you don't know what you're doing, just get on and start it anyway. But make sure that you're not setting unrealistic expectations, because the frustrations I see people feel from creating music is, I'm not successful, no one's listening to my music. And the problem is, if you want to become a pop star and you want to make millions of dollars or sell millions of records or streams these days, that's very different from just being a weekend amateur where you want to get your music out there to the world. So going in with the right mindset and making sure that your goals are clear is pretty important, in my opinion. So there's nothing wrong. If you want to create pop music, you want to create popular music that is going to sell a lot, that's cool. But it's very different from just having the goal of, I want to get my stuff out there. I want to share my music with the world. So make sure that you've thought about that, or don't. These are all optional, let's be honest, but I thought we'd have some fun with it. Number 2, what gear do I need? Do I need to spend millions and thousands and trillions on recording gear, Johns? Well, no. You could use an iPhone, you could use an iPad, you could use your Mac, your PC. If you've got an audio recorder on your phone, you can start recording things. You go analog and use a 4-track recorder. I've got a gear guide at studiolivetoday.com/gear. That's where I've got all of my recommendations, some of it pretty cheap. You can really get underway. If you've already got yourself a device, you can buy yourself like a $50 audio interface and a $50 mic and get started. That's pretty much what I did. And I must admit, these days, I'm not exactly using anything particularly fancy. So just get started. Don't let gear be the reason why you're not creating. Don't let the gear get in your way, because $1 million song on an iPhone is still better than a crappy song in $1 million studio. On cue, the wind. It sees me trying to record. Number 3, what software do I need? Again, whatever works for you. If you haven't used anything before, I recommend GarageBand. If you've got an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac, you can use GarageBand. It's free to download and use. And people say, oh, it's not really free, Johns, because you've got to buy a $1,000 device. Well, hey, a lot of us already have an iPhone or an iPad for other uses, so use that. If you've already got a PC or you've already got a Mac, you can check out GarageBand. There's things like Cakewalk, things like Audacity that you can record with for free. There's a bunch of different options. We live in the future, folks, and it really doesn't matter. This is the thing, don't get caught up on what you're going to use. Just start using something, try it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, try something else. It's as simple as that. The actual platform you use is way less important than the music that you're creating. Keep that in mind. Number 4, how many songs are you going to record? Are you going to record a whole song? Are you going to record an EP? Are you going to record an album? The key consideration here is to not bite off more than you can chew. We as humans are very prone to getting overwhelmed. So if you're like, I'm going to record a double LP, 30 tracks of epic symphonic metal, maybe start with an EP there, buddy, or maybe even just a single song, because yeah, it's a lot easier, especially if you're talking to yourself, to under-promise and then over-deliver. Hey, you might find that you've got an absolute knack for it and you crush it, but if you set your goal at an album and you only get a song done, you're going to feel like a failure. If you set your goal at a song and you get an EP done, you're going to feel amazing. So make sure that you think about that first. Like, how many songs, how much music do I want to produce? How much can I produce? And what will I feel comfortable with? And start small. You can always chunk it up, but start with the smallest. What do they do in the agile world of software development? The minimal viable product. What's your minimum viable product? It may be like a 30-second song that's like 16 bars long, and that's okay. How long will it take? I like to set myself and recommend to others to set time-bound goals. Now, is this going to be for everyone? No. Some people hate the pressure of having a time-bound goal. They just want to get started and see where it takes them. There's nothing wrong with that approach. But if you are in the market to finish a song or finish an EP or complete an album or get your release out to the world, having an idea of how long you're going to allocate can be a good thing. You know what? If you give yourself an open-ended amount of time, you may never finish. It may take forever. Have you heard that old adage that the work will expand to fill the amount of time? Yeah, if you've been to school, most of us have been to school. Remember when you had that assignment that you had 3 weeks to do, and then you had 2 weeks, and then you had 1 week, and then you had one? Yeah, you're going to take as long as the time has. But if you've only got 1 day to do it, guess what? You're going to do it in 1 day, or you're going to not. And we'll talk about when you don't a little bit later on. So think about it. Again, these are just considerations, things to think about, questions to ask yourself. And you may say, I want no part of this time-bound stuff. I'm under enough pressure in my real life. That's totally fine too. How will I share it? That's the next one. Are you going to share it? Will you be sharing it with people? Are you going to share it along the way? Are you going to join a community like the Create, Record, Release group that we have here on Facebook? Or are you going to do it alone? Do you have some friends? Are you going to join a songwriters group? Things like Songwriters Anonymous is a great group. There's a heap of options there to get support and to join communities while you're creating. But then when you finish, what's your plan then to share it? Are you going to just share it with your friends and family? Are you going to keep it to yourself? Are you going to release it to the world? You can use something like DistroKid to get it out there to Spotify and Apple Music and all those places. Again, tips in the description if you're watching the video version, or if you're listening on the audio version. Hi, go over to studiolivetoday.com or studiolivetoday.com/DistroKid if you want to learn all about how to release your music. So how will you share it? When will you share it? Just have a little bit of a think about the strategy you may go with. And again, it can change. All of this stuff can change. It's not like when you were asked by the guidance counsellor in like the 6th grade, hey, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And you have to tell her you want to be an accountant or an architect or, heaven forbid, a doctor or a lawyer. You don't have to decide and then keep to it. If you decide on one direction and then you change again, that's totally fine too. But have a think about it. These are all just consideration points. Number 7, how to mentally prepare. How do you prepare yourself for this challenge? Because it will be a challenge, and resilience is the word that comes to mind. It's the word that I use for myself when I'm talking to my kids, when I'm coaching other people to create music, because when everything's going really well, is it very hard to keep going? Is it very hard to keep creating? Not really, because it's all going well. But when it all goes pear-shaped, when it all goes to schnizzle, then yeah, you do need to know how you're going to react with that. So are you in the right mental space to start creating? And that's why it's a good idea to think about those other things of how much you're going to do, not setting yourself unrealistic goals, being reasonable with yourself. At the end of every video I do, I say, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, keep creating. And it has to be in that order. You have to be kind to yourself first. So if you've got yourself allocated time and you are going to create music, then go do it. But guess what? If it doesn't happen that day, that week, that month, oh well, try again next time. Again, it's not how you react when things are going great, it's how you bounce back and show that resilience to get back up and do it again. So there's a few other things you can do to mentally prepare. You can talk to other people, you can seek help, you can join communities and join groups, you can find out from others some tips about how they've done it. You can subscribe to Studio Live Today. Of course you can. So there's a heap of ways that you can do that, but the key is to think about it, to think about how you're actually going to react when the rubber hits the road. Cue the wind. All right, related to that is number 8. What help will I need? Will you need any help? Are you going to go it all alone? You're going to be your own one-person band, or are you going to be reaching out to others and seeking help? Are you going to join community groups? Are you going to get a co-writer? Are you going to collaborate? Are you going to join a band, or is it going to be all you? Just thinking about this again, because you may not have. The whole point of this is these are things that maybe you've thought of, maybe you haven't. So if you're asking this question and going, hey, will I actually need some help? Am I absolutely awful at bass, but do I happen to know a guy who's really great at bass? And maybe I can do some keys on their track and they can do some, you know what I mean? So there's options out there. You don't have to go it alone, but think about, who can help me? Yeah. Is it going to be Pete Johns? Maybe not one-on-one, but maybe on the through the videos. Or join the Patreon and you can hang out with the cool folks there. So what help will I need? All right, number 9. What if you fail? So the question you're going to ask yourself is, what if it doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I don't get the song done? What if I set myself a goal and I fall short? Oh well, you get up and you try again. It all comes back to that resilience, doesn't it? The cool thing about this is the way I look at it, it's like an old arcade machine. You know how sometimes you'd have to punch in quarters or hear 20-cent pieces in Australia or $1 coins, and you'd get sort of credits and then you'd run out of credits. It was a limited game. The game of music creation has unlimited credits, unlimited retries. When you lose your 3 persons in the little shoot 'em up game, you just press retry and you go again. So you may find that the first time you do this, the first time you go out to create music, it doesn't work. It's unsuccessful. You have quote unquote failed. However, I know it's cliche to say at this point in time, but failure is micro and success is macro. So if you fail, if you just get one thing that doesn't quite work out, that's not a failure, that's a learning experience. That means maybe you need to go through the other 8 questions and think about it differently next time. Maybe you failed because you wanted to record an 5-track metal EP when really you're a 45-year-old man and maybe acoustic folk music is more up your alley. Just saying. So remember, failure is just a learning experience. It just means you haven't got it quite right this time. Unlimited retries, baby. Hit that player 1 button again and give it another crack. All right. The last question, number 10. What next? Have you ever achieved something and you've been working towards it, you've been setting your goals, you've been mapping out your time, you get it done, and then you have this feeling of emptiness that, well, what do I do now? So it's a good idea to actually think about that. And again, some people will not be your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan people, but just mapping out and trying to work out, okay, if I do this, what will I do next? What's the next step? And part of that can be, how will I promote this song? How will I share this with the world? How will I do my next song? Will I do something different? Will I continue doing more of the same? All of these things are completely valid and they're all up to you. But it's worth considering because you will get into that space. Hands up, let me know in the comments if you're watching the video version. Anyone who's finished something and afterwards you think you'll feel this ultimate relief and satisfaction, but all you feel is empty and lost. It's not uncommon. You're not alone with that. A lot of us go through that, and it's just about how you pick yourself back up and motivate yourself to continue on and to keep going. The wind is picking up again, so we are going to finish off there. But if you've got your own ideas, own questions that you think that folks should ask themselves before they start creating music, please, if you're watching the video version, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. While you're there, you can hit that little sneaky thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got a heap of stuff going on here on the channel, lots of tutorials, lots of live shows every weekend to keep you motivated and creating music yourself. If you're listening to the audio version, jump over to the YouTube channel if you want to see the beautiful scenery that we have out here. And again, sorry I couldn't be walking around, but yeah, you can hear by the wind that walking would not have been a good idea here today. And as we say at the end of every show and every video around here, please be kind to yourself, be kind to others, keep creating. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.